What we're seeing in this image is a collection of reactions that do take place inside of living cells. And this is just a subset of what is going on. Now, the take-home message from all of this is just to make you aware of the complexity of the reactions inside the cell, and also to help you to note that the reactions are very interconnected with each other. So all of this that we're seeing on here, and then also the reactions that we're not seeing drawn in this particular picture, all of these collectively would be referred to as metabolism. So as we start to talk about metabolism, it is important to understand that metabolism, that very term, refers to all the reactions inside of a cell. And so this is going to be reactions that do a variety of different things. This could be reactions that are actually building things that could be used by the cell, or it could be reactions that are actually tearing things apart as well. So the reactions that we do have are going to fall into two major categories. So one of the categories is what we call catabolic reactions, and then we also have anabolic reactions. And so if we just spend a little time comparing and contrasting what we mean by catabolic and anabolic, catabolic reactions are oftentimes called reactions that break down molecules. And so what's going to happen here is that we're going to have some large complex molecules. So large molecules, we're going to have a catabolic reaction take place, or a bunch of catabolic reactions take place. And the end result is that we break this into simpler molecules or individual little pieces. Now the point of all of this is because when we do run catabolic reactions and we break down these complex molecules into smaller molecules, the end result is that this is going to yield energy. And that is clearly something that the cell is going to want. So whenever the cell needs energy, it's going to break down complex molecules into smaller ones as one means of actually getting that. An example of this would be to take something like a starch molecule, and then a catabolic reaction is going to break it into smaller pieces. And so this could be like glucose molecules, and then we can process those further even more and get even more energy out of it. The anabolic reactions on the other end of all of this, what these reactions do is anabolic reactions are going to build large complex molecules. Okay, so this is just the opposite of what we had on the top. So now we're just really completing this whole process. The anabolic ones are going to build them, and when they do that, these are going to require some energy. So the energy that we're talking about in all of this, typically that energy is going to be translated into the form of ATP. So when we run catabolic reactions, we tend to yield ATP. And then when we run anabolic reactions, we require energy. And again, that's going to be in the form of ATP. So ATP is going to get cycled in all of this. And we'll talk about how we actually build ATP and take apart ATP or utilize ATP in later chapters. So in this diagram here, we have just another way of looking at catabolic and anabolic pathways. Now, when we use the term pathway, what that is referring to is a series of reactions. So typically, it's not just one reaction that's taking place. It may be 5, 10, or even more reactions that are occurring. And in this diagram, we're consuming some food. So when we consume food, we tend to do that because we need energy of some sort. So as that food is shipped into the cell, catabolic pathways, and we can see those being shown right here, those catabolic pathways are going to take that food molecule and it's going to break them down into smaller pieces. Those smaller pieces, we can think of those as building blocks for the cell. This could be amino acids, it could be fatty acids, this could be individual glucose molecules. So we have a variety of components that we may end up with, and those will be important. But another very important thing that we get from this is the fact that we get the energy up here. So that energy that we're getting is typically going to be in the form of ATP, and ATP is going to be a very good usable energy source for the other type of pathways, which are the anabolic pathways. So the anabolic pathways here, they're going to utilize these two things that we did get from the catabolic pathways. They're going to take the energy in the form of ATP, and they're going to take those building blocks or those individual simpler components, and they're going to reassemble them into the specific macromolecules that the cell needs. These macromolecules could be glycogen. This could be storing some sugar for the cell. This could be triglyceride molecules. These could be enzymes, transport proteins, hormones. We have a whole list of things that these could actually be turned into later. The main point here, though, is to understand how catabolic and anabolic pathways do work together to manage an amount of energy. So the catabolic pathways will actually help us to get the energy, and the anabolic pathways are going to utilize that energy to produce what the cell actually needs.